Hello guys, in this video we are going to put this socket 771 Xeon CPU in a socket 775 motherboard. So yeah, you can do this by buying an adapter. It sticks onto the back of the CPU. There are two of them here, just in case I mess up one of them. And you need to do a tiny bit of cutting to the socket of the CPU itself on the motherboard. It has now an E2180 at 2 GHz dual core CPU, and this Xeon is quad core at 2.5. It's an X, let me just check, 3323. Maybe the camera will even focus on it. Hopefully you can see it, and hopefully I can even overclock it a little bit by the FSB. Not really sure. This one, for example, it's overclocked to 2.2. It didn't want to overclock much. Another one I managed to cut it on the same motherboard to get it to 2.7. So this one only 2.2. This one is 2.5 to start with. Maybe 3 GHz. Yeah, that would be nice, but we will see about that. So first thing, I'm going to remove the fan, heatsink of course, and the original CPU. So let's do this. Okay, I will also remove the memory just to have a little bit more workroom. As you can see, this is laptop memory on an adapter to use it in this computer. I have a separate video on how to use that adapter, and I have a separate video on this whole thing. I bought it as partially defected from eBay, but the motherboard in the end turned out to be completely dead. So yeah, I needed to make lots of modifications so I could fit a standard motherboard in a server case. This thing is a little bit stuck. Thermal paste is almost gone and almost completely dry, so that kind of sucks. It's good that I actually opened it up. It would have been better if I did this when I got the motherboard and CPU directly. Let me discharge myself, okay, and now let's remove the original CPU. We might need to do some BIOS microcode upgrade or update, because otherwise this PC might tell us at every single boot that it has a weird CPU in. So these are the two CPUs. Of course my camera is not focused on them. And you can see they have the notches in completely different position. I'm keeping them in exactly the correct position, but come on camera, focus. One of them has the notches horizontally and one of them vertically. So that is the problem that we need to fix in the motherboard socket. I will show you in game. You can see way better here. Notches are there, and for the other one there and there. The important thing is this triangle over here that needs to be lined up the same. So we need to remove, maybe you can see, there is a bit of plastic and there. we need to remove those because before they were entering the notches here. So our how can I say, line up method will be this corner here. We will use that to line up this new CPU. One moment. To line it up like this. But for the moment it clearly does not enter because of the pieces of plastic that we need to cut. Normally you could do notches in the CPU. There are people that do that. It's not extremely hard, but it's a little bit more dangerous. And you can cut this with a box cutter, for example, but be extremely careful. If you bend the pins or break them, this motherboard is done. So yeah, I'm going to cut those now. As you can see, this motherboard already has some damage to some pins there, even before I started working. But weirdly enough, it is 100% okay. So maybe those pins are not used or they are still making contact. I have no clue, but I'm not going to touch that area at all. Okay, and we are done. This side was really simple. This one was way harder because the plastic was really close to the pins, and the box cutter slipped once and scratched the base of one of them. Maybe you can see they're a bit shinier, but yeah, no real damage. I didn't press on it, so it just scratched the surface. But yeah, anyway, this is not easy to do. You need a really steady hand and a real sharp box cutter. Mine wasn't sharp enough, sadly. So yeah, that is done. Now I just have to put the adapter onto the back side of the CPU, do a little bit of online searching to see exactly where I need to stick it in place, and then put the CPU in here. Found some pictures online and they all show the same thing. The top of the adapter is right next to the pins right there, actually to the pads, not pins. And you have an arrow here in the corner which should point to the arrow on the CPU itself. And that should be about it. So let's do this. The adapter is in perfect position. So at this point, let us drop this CPU in. Hopefully I can do it with one hand. It will not be really easy trying to get it the way I want it. Line up this arrow in the corner. You see a little arrow right about there and some missing pins there, because you don't have anything else to line this thing up to at this point. Okay, and it dropped right in. Seems to be in perfect position. Let's latch it down. I was testing to see if it allows movement, and it seems to allow. So I think I did a good job. Yeah, my phone buzzing in the background. Let me put some thermal paste, the heatsink back on, and give it a quick test. Thermal paste ready. Cleaned this up a bit. Let's drop it in position. Yeah, I'm going to need both hands to line this up a bit better. Okay, the cooler is latched in place. All CPU is there. And yeah, let's power everything on. Let's see what we get. Where is the power button? But the problem might be actually the settings on the motherboard, because it remained overclocked from the previous CPU. So yeah, need to change some jumpers and reset the BIOS. This is the second day. I played around with this thing for a few hours yesterday. Could not get it to boot with the Xeon no matter what I do, but with the Intel Pentium original one it boots. So there are two variants. Either this CPU is dead, because it does come from a dead motherboard that was in this server, so it's untested after that, or it uses the damaged pins from the socket that actually this Pentium doesn't use, maybe, or the microcode from the BIOS of this motherboard needs updating, or a combination of all, or something else. But before trying to update the microcodes, I just realized that I have another Fujitsu Siemens server that you can see in one of my other videos, that actually has a socket 775 Xeon similar to this one, so that one I could put in without even needing to modify the socket, but the socket is already modified, so yeah. But I'm going to try and put that one in to see if something different happens. And if it's still the same even with that one, then I'm going to modify the microcode and see from there. So let's do that. The new Xeon is ready. It's an X3220 at 2.4 GHz. I'm going to drop it in and test it. But I just want to show you the difference between this Xeon's cooler from the other server and the stock Intel cooler. So yeah, I might need to upgrade that a little bit, but that will be based on the temperatures, but most likely upgrade. So let's do it. The exact same thing is happening, just a blank screen, no beeping, no anything. Just once I saw the BIOS logo, and a second time it went beeping continuously with the CPU. But yeah, I think the problem are the microcodes. So let's update those. Original Pentium in, no problems running. I have the latest BIOS version, so that's not a problem. I just need to add microcodes for Xeons. Yeah, weirdly. Some motherboards accept them, but tell you to press F1 to unlock the full potential of the CPU. This one seems it doesn't accept them at first. Downloaded P2.10 BIOS, exactly the one that I had on the motherboard. I did the microcodes, and now I just wrote it in the chip from the motherboard, and let's see if it sees any of the Xeons. If not, maybe those pins that were damaged by someone else, not by me, are the problem. I have no idea. So let's see. Okay, I decided not to give up on this thing and try to make the Xeons work. So from a dead motherboard I took one of the pins, I broke the socket, took one of the pins, cut part of it and put it over the shortest pin from this group here. So now only one pin has a bit of an issue, and yeah, I'm going to try the Xeon. If it still doesn't work, I'm going to try and put another pin on top of that one and test again. We have a fully working Xeon CPU inside. So that pin was the issue from the start. The Xeon seems to use it and the Pentium does not. Yeah, so I'm really glad I did not give up on this thing. Of course, the speed is not set correctly. I need to change the FSB, but now I'm going to try and put here the 33 23 is it, to see if that one boots. Second Xeon is in and it's working. So I'm going to make a different video with a tutorial on how to repair a broken pin in a socket if you have a dead motherboard of that type, of a similar type laying around. And yeah, in this video let's see how much we can overclock this thing and how it runs stock, for example, in Windows. Okay, we are booted into Windows. Just did a Cinebench 11.5 run. As you can see, it beats the hell out of the E2180. Way bigger score. So yeah, that's great. Next, a bench in CPU Z. It sees it wrong as an E5420. I have no idea why, but don't really care about that. This is the score in CPU Z for this one. Let me just bring up the score for the old one, so you can see way lower. And yeah, in Cinebench 0.44 points, and this one gets 2.72, so yeah, no contest there. Of course we are going to overclock this thing. The only weird thing, and all of this while Windows was still doing stuff in the background, so you can see it's not idling. And the rest thing, the temp, almost 70 degrees. I have no idea. These things, I think they are completely wrong, because the value, the instant value, I never saw it above 50 degrees. So how this come up here, no clue. But anyway, just to be sure, I'm going to upgrade to that cooler from the tiny one there. So this is twice as thick, and it's still all aluminum, exactly as that one, so it will surely do a better job. And after that upgrade, I'm going to start overclocking this thing. So let's do that now. The big cooler is ready to go, as you can see here. It had some issues. For example, I had to zip tie this fan onto it, because I don't have an original Intel fan for it anymore. And this one, as you can see, has the plastic clips directly starting from the fan, so they would not fit this one, which is taller. So I used this big old fan here. This is really powerful, so no problems there. And yeah, made sure the zip ties are in a place where they do not interfere with their height. They don't bother anything on the board. Let's put this in and hopefully it works, although it is a 3-pin, so yeah, we will see. In the end, I did not manage to overclock this CPU, not even a bit. Every single time I touched the FSB, it would not boot at all. Probably in the end, if I forced it, maybe 60 megahertz, but that has no point. So it's at stock speed with a bigger cooler, so clearly it will not overheat anymore. And yeah, you can use a 771 CPU in a 775 motherboard. Even if the motherboard has issues, you can fix those, and it works, and it's way more powerful than a dual-core Pentium in this case. So thanks for watching. Ask whatever you need in the comments, like the video, subscribe, check out my other videos, and see you again in the next one. Bye.